Welcome back to the Week 10 edition of my weekly NFL Pick'em. After a marathon of making videos last week, Week 9 came and took a huge dump on all my work. And I don't know who to blame, the Jets, the Dolphins, or myself for thinking that a piece of NFL content could last for more than a week. I still think that you should go back and maybe check out the midseason predictions and the mock draft that I posted last week, and then keep an eye out for an updated mock in a couple weeks with the boring old current NFL standings as the mock draft order, since y'all don't seem to like prediction-based orders. But overall, Week 9 felt like a week to just give up on a few more teams making any kind of serious turnaround this season. The Jets and Browns are talented rosters with terrible coaches, and in today's NFL, you need top-notch coaching to win football games. Now, there's a lot of bye weeks this week, like 6 to be exact, so I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into some of these matchups that I feel like deserve the extra attention, and some of them I'm going to skim right past because they're kind of meh. Also, stay to the end if you are interested in seeing the recap of the Pick'em Group. I forgot to do it last week, so at the end of the video, I'm going to go over weeks 8 and 9 and give an update on our overall leader through 9 weeks. Remember, the goal for this video is 500 likes. If you're new to the channel and you like what you see, feel free to hit that subscribe button. By the way, shout out to everybody. We hit 25,000 subs last week. It's kind of a mind-blowing number, to be honest with you. We've seen such incredible growth in just 1 year of really doing this, and I just want to say I appreciate every single one of you guys that has joined me for this ride, whether you've commented on every single video or you've never commented on a video at all. I gotta say, I appreciate you feeding into my unhealthy obsession with football. But let's not get emotional here, and let's push towards that 50K number as we move on to Week 10. On Thursday Night Football, we've got Chargers at Raiders. On a short week, the Chargers will make what is likely their last trip to the black hole, and the players had to start their week out with rumors that the team might be moving to London. Now, this rumor was short-lived before being squashed by Chargers owner Dean Spanos, but he's not exactly been the most upfront and honest guy when saying he's not going anywhere.
Total. Okay? We're not going to London. We're not going anywhere. We're playing in Los Angeles. This is our home, and this is where we're planning to be for a long time. Okay. Period. Okay? And if you want me to say it again, I'll say it again. Okay? Thank you.
So you've got to think that everybody in that building has been a little bit distracted this week, thinking that they might have to relocate to England one day. That's a little bit more of a commute than San Diego to LA for those keeping score at home. The Chargers and their fans barely even got to enjoy that win before these rumors came up, and this has got to be one of the most frustrating teams to root for in the league. And not only for their departure from San Diego, but to be able to shut down the Packers like that shows what kind of potential that they have, but then they'll also lose to teams that they're clearly more talented like the Broncos. This is a simple case of playing up or down to your competition, and the Chargers defense rose to the occasion against the Packers because they are clearly one of the better teams in the league, and this Chargers team just has their backs against the wall. Well, now they have the Raiders, who have pretty much been one of the weaker teams in the division since 2002, other than 2016 where they finished second in the division with a 12-4 record, but every other year since then has been a third or fourth place finish for the Raiders. So I expect the Chargers to come out and maybe play down to their expectations of this team early on. The public perception of the Raiders is at a crossroads this season because they've been in the basement of the AFC West for quite some time now, but this is clearly the best version of them that we've seen in a while, and I think you've got to credit John Gruden. By the way, Gruden might have had one of the most brilliant what the moments when he called a timeout on 4th down for the Lions so that they could ice their own play call. I mean, they went from spreading the defense out in the no huddle to clamming up during a commercial break. It was actually really smart because if you watch it again, you can see that he lets the clock tick down as much as possible before the Lions could quickly snap it, but there was plenty of time for Stafford to walk up, read the defense, and they had the Raiders defense on their heels. Matt Patricia is a young conservative coach, and I really wish I knew that if Gruden actually expected him to sink into a turtle shell with the timeout mounting the pressure on the Lions and their play call. After a boss move like that, I'm putting some faith in the Raiders coaching staff here to keep the Chargers defense off balance with a good offensive game plan, because that's how the Raiders have to win games these days. Raiders win 30-24. Lions at Bears. Speaking of the Lions in that Raiders game, seriously though, what was up with that play call to win the game? I mean, who were you trying to outsmart by lining up in goal line to throw it to your backup tight end? You already have a backup running back in, and your veteran quarterback has been playing amazingly, slinging it to his big play wide receivers all year long. You don't have to be an analytics guy to know your odds on that one. I've seen a lot of Matt Stafford should be getting talked about as an MVP, but while I agree that he's been throwing it around really well, he's always been kind of a high volume passer until Matt Patricia tried tried to change the offense to a run-first unit. And yes, I know there's been a lot of below-average coaching over the years for Stafford, but when it comes down to it, you got to do what it takes to win these kinds of games. Then maybe we can talk about MVP. That's the end of my rant. I like Stafford. There's just something missing there. There's a disconnect with him, and I still can't figure it out. But the Bears against the Eagles last week, it seemed like they must have heard everybody talking trash about them on Twitter in the first half after they had like 9 yards in total, and then they finally turned it on offensively in the second half, but it was too little too late. Now the Lions are coming into town, and this Bears defense is going to be tasked with slowing down Matthew Stafford and the Lions passing attack. The question is, will the Bears offense be able to respond before halftime this week, or are they going to fall into another hole right out of the gate? Honestly, your guess is as good as mine at this point. This Lions defense isn't scaring anyone right now, so this could be a chance for the Trash Biscuit to stack a couple of good performances on top of each other. Or, you know, he's heard the speculation about the Bears potentially adding Cam Newton this offseason, and he crumbles under the pressure. We'll see. I'm going to go with the latter. Lions win 21-17. Ravens at Bengals. Wherever you're watching this, please don't be shy and stand up, and let's all give the Ravens a round of applause for taking care of business with the Patriots last week. Lamar Jackson is quickly becoming America's quarterback because he's just so unique and comes off as a really likable dude on and off the field. I mean, this is the closest thing to Mike Vick 2.0 that we've seen since number 7 retired. So naturally, the Ravens, they're just going to come out and dominate the Bengals this week, right? Well, as Lee Corso would say, not so fast, my friends. The Bengals played the Ravens pretty tight in week 6. The final on that one was 23-17, and after beating the previously undefeated, reigning Super Bowl winning champion New England Patriots, it's probably human nature to take your foot off the gas and put your feet up a little bit. I mean, after all, the Bengals are starting a 4th round rookie quarterback for the first time in Ryan Finley, so they should have this one in the bag, right? That's probably what half the defenders on the Ravens are thinking deep down. They might not say it out loud, but that's probably what they're thinking deep down. And real quick, let me clarify my comments about Ryan Finley from my mock draft video for those of you that I may not have been able to respond to in the comments section. Ryan Finley was a good quarterback for NC State, but I believe that the wide receivers at NC State elevated him more than he elevated them. I'm a Charlottesville guy, so my closest experience to him was playing against UVA, and I am a college quarterback optimist. Hell, I was excited about Tebow and Manziel's potential in the NFL, but I was just never that impressed with Finley. I always look for the positive traits on a quarterback and just imagine that you can always build upon them, and I just don't see much here to work with. I thought it was a reach and a weird fit when the Bengals drafted him in the 4th, but hey, maybe the coaches see something in him, and that's why they're benching Dalton. So if I'm wrong, I'll own it. But the way I see this one going down is that the Ravens will win 20-13. I want to take a quick break right now to thank the sponsor of these weekly NFL Pick'ems, Overlay Fantasy Sports. This is a revolutionary new way to play daily fantasy football, and it's been simplified so you don't need any kind of crazy algorithms or formulas to figure out who has the most value to put in your lineup each week. This is a simple start and sit game of fantasy football where you just pick between positional matchups that they provide each and every week of guys with similar projections, and you get to pick who you think is going to have the best week. I've actually been struggling lately after having some really early success with this thing, and I'm thinking that I actually need to have a little bit more strategy and just instead of just going down the line and picking the guy that stands out the most. For example, this week people are going to see this Lamar Jackson Aaron Rodgers matchup here, and while I think that Lamar Jackson has a lot of potential to put up numbers this week, he's also going to be the one that everybody picks. So I'm going to play it safe and go with Aaron Rodgers, and then Jameis. And then right now it's Kyler Murray versus Matt Ryan, but if Matt Ryan doesn't play, you get to pick a few alternates down at the bottom, and those will just fill in for that. If you have a 12-0 record, you get to win this progressive bonus, which builds up kind of like the lottery does. And last week, the $2.50 jackpot was hit for $3,200, but check this out, the $109 jackpot was hit for $28K last week. I've been picking in the $2.50 leagues each and every week, and yeah, I've won $18 here and there. So come join me this week. Go to www.overlaydfs.com, or you can head over to the App Store and download the app that I'm showing you on the screen. I'll put a link in the description and in the pinned comment with the timestamps. Big thanks to Overlay Fantasy Sports for sponsoring this weekly Pick'em series. Let's get back to the picks. Bills at Browns. The Bills have the 3rd ranked defense, y'all. Let that soak in. Part of it is because they've got a good group of guys over there, and head coach Sean McDermott is using his defensive background to get the most out of them. And the other part, well, the Bills offense doesn't exactly pressure opposing offenses to score too much when they're only putting up 19 to 20 points a game. And I'm sorry if I'm not taking this 6-2 team that seriously. I'm actually really happy for the city of Buffalo, and the fans up there really deserve some wins for their dedication to the team. But there's a reason that they're not favored against against a 2-win Browns team. 5 of their 6 wins come against the Jets, Giants, Bengals, Dolphins, and Redskins. You're looking at basically the first few picks in the NFL draft. The only halfway decent team the Bills have beaten was the Titans, and that one required the Titans kicker to miss 4 field goals, including 1 getting blocked. I know it seems like I'm setting this up to pick the Browns again, but guys, I don't think I can do it anymore. I can't keep picking this Browns team to win because it's becoming painful to watch. I'm sure the week I stray from picking them will be the moment that they pull it all together, but I'd rather see that and get a game wrong than keep picking them only to see them self-destruct each week. I don't want to create gossip or spread a false narrative here. That's not what I'm about here, but I am concerned that there's maybe an ego issue going on with Baker Mayfield and Odell Beckham Jr., and that's why Baker's not throwing him the ball more. I mean, it was pretty clear that he was wide open on a game-winning touchdown pass last week, but I think that Baker wants to be sort of the man of the house, but he sees that Odell is more of a likable star than he is, and a picture tells 1,000 words, and that image of Baker looking at Odell while he lovingly looks at Tom Brady, well, I hope it's just a poorly timed frame, or else I'm worried that this Browns ship might be going down in flames if they don't get some wins under their belt here. Bills win 17-13. Panthers at Packers. After moving Cam Newton back to IR, this is now Kyle Allen's team for the remainder of 2019. Just kidding. He's only the starting quarterback because this team belongs to Christian McCaffrey. The problem is that Kyle Allen isn't playing as well after that unreal start that he had this year, and he's taking a lot of sacks. Meanwhile, the Packers are going to want to bounce back after that uncharacteristic performance in LA last week, and the Smith bros on defense have to be licking their chops. Both Za'Darius and Preston Smith have 8 sacks this year. You want to talk about some good free agent pickups. And as good as the Packers defense has been this year, they've been very susceptible to the running game, so I could see McCaffrey continuing to put the team on his back here, but at some point this guy's got to have a bad game, right? I feel like if the Packers won last week, I'd be ready to pick the Panthers in a road upset here, especially with the whole Cam Newton thing not lingering over their heads, but I'm still leaning towards the Aaron Rodgers bounce back here. Packers win 27-21. Falcons at Saints. Remember when both these teams were good and this was a fun offensive shootout? Pepperidge Farm remembers. These teams are both coming off their bye week, which doesn't happen very often, and with them playing twice in the upcoming 4 weeks, it's likely that the Saints have a somewhat conservative game plan in this one, so it could be closer than expected, but if the Saints wanted to, I really think that they could make this one just a massacre. Another detail that lends me to thinking that the Saints will continue to scale things back is that Matt Ryan is not practicing yet, so I don't expect him to play this week, but he could be ready to play in a few weeks when they play again, and that win might be a little more dire at that point to lock up home field advantage throughout the playoffs for the Saints. That's when I could see the Saints defense really throwing the kitchen sink at the Falcons, but they don't have any struggles getting it done anyways at home this week. Saints win 31-14. Giants at Jets. This has got to be one of the weakest battles for New York in the history of anything. I mean, the Giants, they just got cursed by a black cat on Monday Night Football in their home stadium, and the Jets lost to a team that is trying to lose games on purpose. Maybe I'm too close to the Giants, but I think that they're clearly the better team here than the Jets. I don't want to call it admiration. It's more of a level of respect for the roster of a division rival. I've seen them play well. I've seen players on this team play to a higher level than they're performing right now. But I also had higher expectations for this Jets team, and I thought that they were going to be decent, or at least even recently thought that they still had a chance to turn it around down the stretch here. With what, 5 or 6 games left, they technically could finish on a stronger note than they have, but after losing to the Dolphins, I guess the only way to go is up. Adam Gase was a good offensive coordinator, but he might be as toxic and uninspiring as they come as a head coach. In fact, I'd fire him before the Jets can show signs of life, so there's no second guessing down the line here if you should keep him or not. Greg Williams could fill in as your interim head coach. I mean, the guy helped the Browns finish with such a respectable second half of their season last year that a bunch of dumb people thought they might actually be Super Bowl contenders this year. Not us.
Look at us. Hey, look at us. Look at us. Huh? Who would have thought? Not me.
I would just let Greg Williams steer the ship for the rest of 2019 and start over next year. Giants win 21-14. Cardinals at Buccaneers. As far as games go that feature 2 non-playoff contenders, this matchup between 2 of the bottom 5 pass defenses should be about as interesting as it gets. Despite losing to the 49ers on Halloween, the Cardinals are coming off one of their best performances of the year, and it looks like Kenyon Drake has added a nice jolt to this offense. Oddly enough, the Bucs are better on the road this year. It doesn't always equate to wins, but they seem to be executing better offensively, averaging 5.5 points more on the road than at home. It just adds to the dysfunction and unpredictability of this Buccaneers team, so let's see which version of them we get this week in Tampa. I really want to pick the Cardinals because the Bucs are another one of those teams that just likes to play up and down to their competition, but this is easily the worst secondary they've faced all year, and Jameis and company could really let it all hang out this week. Buccaneers win 38-28. Chiefs at Titans, the battle of the backups. The Chiefs are good, y'all. This roster is stacked and well coached. Honestly, I'm hoping that we get a Chiefs-Ravens AFC Championship game this year because the two matchups that we've had between Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson have been pretty entertaining. The Titans are like the AFC cockroach that just won't die, though. I mean, this is a miserable team to watch because it just seems like there's no identity on offense, while the defense does whatever they can to try to save face. Picking this matchup feels like a trap either way. It seems easy to pick against Matt Moore on the road against this Titans pass defense, but losing Malcolm Butler to IR could be a big blow for them. Now, if Matt Moore was some unknown or undrafted 25-year-old quarterback, I bet you Andy Reid could probably win 10 games with him, probably lose in the wild card, but then turn around and trade this guy for a second-round pick. But Andy Reid traded up for Patrick Mahomes because Mahomes is supposed to be the guy to get him over that sort of Alex Smith game manager hump. So I say they need to continue to rest Mahomes as long as he needs to get fully healthy for the playoffs and continue to pick off these bottom feeder teams while building up the confidence of everybody else on the team around him, because they are proving that they can in fact win without their quarterback, so that when he gets back, it will just elevate everyone else that much more. So I'm still picking the Chiefs 24-20. Dolphins at Colts. The Dolphins actually won a football game, guys. I just knew they'd accidentally win one sooner or later because they'd been showing way too much effort and fight, especially as of late. And for the Colts to add insult to Jacoby Brissett's MCL injury, the Colts lost a heartbreaker to the Steelers in the farewell tour of Adam Vinatieri. It's crazy that Brian Hoyer, yet another ex-Patriots backup quarterback, comes in and plays about as well for them as you can hope from a backup quarterback, especially a guy throwing to backup wide receivers. That pick six that he threw was unfortunate, but there's a reason that Minkah Fitzpatrick was a top draft prospect that still garnered a first-round pick in a trade that was projected to be potentially a top 15 pick at the time. I really don't care who starts at quarterback for the Colts in this game. Give Frank Reich a week to pump this defense up, and they have step on your throat potential in this one. Colts win 30-17. Rams at Steelers. It oddly feels like we haven't seen the Rams play in a while, like much longer than a regular bye week. Maybe it's due to the time difference from their last game being in London. Now they're headed to Pittsburgh to play a pretty solid Steelers team that feels incredibly different from the versions we've seen in the last 5 years or so. Don't forget, Aaron Donald went to Pitt, and I think this is his first time playing there, so I'd expect him to show out in this one. But it's the Rams offense I need to see more consistency from. This is a tough matchup for them, but with an extra week to game plan, maybe we'll see more of the stuff that Sean McVay was being labeled a genius for just last year. The Steelers shifting back towards the defense being their strength is pretty exciting to me, and if not for the bye week giving McVay time to find the weaknesses in this unit, I'd be all over the Steelers as an upset pick, but I'm going with the Rams winning 21-13. And then on Sunday Night Football, we've got Vikings at Cowboys. Kirk Cousins is on the road again, but at least this time it's in a dome. So Jerry Jones, maybe he should open up the roof and let some of the great outdoors in and really mess with them. All jokes aside though, Kirk Cousins gets the blame for these outdoor road losses, and I'm even guilty of feeding into it because, you know, it's kind of fun. But the fact is, the Vikings haven't won an outdoor game against a team with a winning record since 2015, and that was week 17 at Lambeau. That's just such a weird, mind-blowing stat because your grandfather's Vikings, they were known for playing outdoors, Purple People Eaters, and then this team itself, they're not that far removed from playing outside in the icy conditions while sharing a stadium with the University of Minnesota waiting for their mansion to get built. It's almost like that missed field goal in the 2015 playoffs against the Seahawks has just broken this team. Say what you want about the Cowboys and their coaching staff, and I mentioned this last week, but they've always got the team prepared for their division rivals, and last week was no exception. Even if by ready I mean late in the second quarter and the second half after getting an assist from the Black Cat from Sabrina the Teenage Witch. But I bring that up again because the Cowboys' record against Kirk Cousins when he was with the Redskins was pretty dominant. Kirk got one win in 2015 against the Cowboys in his entire time with Washington, suffering 5 losses, including the final 2 in 2017 where he pretty much just got dominated by the Cowboys defense. And that lone win for Cousins came in week 17 when the Cowboys were starting Kellen Moore, their current offensive coordinator, at quarterback, and their season had been long over by then, even though Matt Castle had outplayed him on Monday Night Football only a month prior. So the Cowboys, they haven't even faced the Cousins-led Vikings before, but if their defense plays to the energy level and intensity that they showed against the Giants, I expect the familiarity with Cousins to make it hard for the Vikings to move the ball consistently on offense, especially with Adam Thielen out. Cowboys win 34-24. And then finally on Monday Night Football, we've got Seahawks at 49ers. People were legit in shock, awe, and maybe even a little disgust with my midseason prediction of the Seahawks winning the whole damn thing. I get that their defense is not great, but it's not their defense that has me drinking the Kool-Aid. It's the NFC's MVP driving the team down in a nail-biter to win the game against a team that they probably should have taken care of earlier but got caught off guard, and he did it not once, but twice. Now, the kicker missing a clutch field goal does give you pause, but this offense is just so efficient yet explosive, and I tried warning warning you guys about DK Metcalf. It's no coincidence to me that he lost that pacifier mouthpiece, even though I thought it was funny, but he lost that the week that the Seahawks claimed Josh Gordon off of waivers, which I thought was one of his best NFL comps coming out of Ole Miss. Now you give the Seahawks two legit outside wide receivers, and you allow Tyler Lockett to be this sort of slot receiver chess piece that you move around all over the place. This passing attack could get lethal. The 49ers this week had to place Quan Alexander on IR, but Frederico Anthony Warner is the man in the middle anyways, so Quan will be missed from this defense, and it's a shame that we never got to see them at full strength against Russell Wilson, but I liked what I saw from Jimmy Garoppolo last week against the Cardinals. We were kind of waiting to see him put everything together and really be the reason that this team won the game, not just the reason that they didn't lose. The mismatch in this game on paper is easily going to be the 49ers defensive line against the Seahawks offensive line, but when it's this glaring to you and I, just, you know, us as fans, you can be sure that the Seahawks coaching staff is preparing for it. And I don't think that I'm shoehorned to pick the Seahawks this week just because I picked them to win it all in my midseason predictions video, but I'm still going to. Remember last year when I was a Seahawks hater? Well, this year I'm allegedly a 49ers hater. Seahawks win 19-17. All right, and I said that I'm going to go over 2 weeks of the weekly pick'em because I forgot to do it last week. I apologize. And I actually had a really good week 8, getting 12 games right, but it looks like so did everybody else. And our three-way tie between Marcus J86, Big Bod, and Zeke 1369, all three of them had 15 picks correct. That's pretty amazing. And then week 9, I had a little bit of a drop back to reality moment and only got 9 picks right, but there were so many picks that just seemed like they could have swayed either way, like the Colts, the Lions, the Browns, but the Jets and Packers, those 2 games really messed me up last week. The leaders for the group in week 9, we had another three-way time between Lukalicious, Dankenstein, and Jur Yang 1986. Those guys all three had 11 picks last week. Nice work. Let's go ahead and take a quick look at the overall leader. And wouldn't you know, it's the guy, I still don't know how to pronounce that name, Aradon, for you Key and Peele fans. He is the leader by 1 point with 87 picks, while Benny J and Zeke 1369 are right on his heels with 86. Nice work, guys. Don't forget to make your picks each and every week. Thank you guys so much for watching, liking, commenting, and subscribing to this channel, helping me with these videos each and every week. Remember, the goal for these pick'em videos is to hit 500 likes each and every week. We've been crushing it. Let's keep this train rolling, and I will see you all in the next video.